Well, good evening everyone. This is the DarkOrbit Twitch stream again. This is our third attempt, and today we have with us...
Hi.
Please introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Annemieke. I'm sort of the, it says here QM, which stands for Quality Manager. Internally we say just QA lead. Overall, I'm responsible for the testing of DarkOrbit.
Responsible for the testing.
Responsible for the testing.
And testing yourself as well a bit.
A bit, yes.
Yeah, but we get to that later, I think. Then of course there is Chris Kelvin, also known as our lead game designer.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Twitch broadcast. My name is Sergey and I'm designer on DarkOrbit. Some people know me, some don't, but we already like you everyone.
And of course...
I think I'm using my stage name from this point forward. Rick
Yes.
Deckard, producer guy.
Yeah, the stage name is important because everyone knows him under this name, and
It's easier to find me on the forums or and stuff that gets posted there since it's always under that name.
yeah,
Like
exactly. Yeah, and as you know, my name's Jörg, and I'm the community manager and not chat moderator, as some people assumed last time when I read CM. And today we actually have a little bit of a schedule for you. We want to start with a new, what's it called? In German it would say Programmpunkt, a new item for the show, by introducing our team to you, or having them here and having them introduce themselves, of course. And after that, we found a couple of questions on the forums that we want to at least talk about a bit. Of course, you can already imagine that it's going to be a bit of blah blah, potentially.
Well, we'll try to keep the blah blah in check.
Yeah?
You just have to, at blah, wave your hand, and then we'll try to cut it off mid next blah.
Okay, that sounds really good. That's why we have Sergey here. And then after that, we actually have a cool thing. We can show you the assembly system on screen, so to speak, live on camera. I will run you through that for a bit. Then I have to just move over to the different PC. And in the meantime, our three guys here can talk you through a couple of the more intricate details of the system, like why are we doing this? How are we testing it, and what the implications will be when we put it on, may I even say that? Open beta?
Yeah, definitely. Open beta.
Yeah. And you can tell us when this is.
In
Or
theory.
the two of you could tell.
Everybody has their own task, it's awesome.
Isn't that great? Yeah, and well, then let's see how much time is left after that. To wrap it up and maybe answer some live questions. Let's see how that pans out. Well, let's start with Annemieke. So you already said that you're the quality manager. Would you mind telling us who you are and how you got into this position?
Well, I guess over 5 years ago I started out as a student worker here at Big Point, and I started as a tester. So from there on I just went from one project to another and ended up where I am right now at DarkOrbit.
Cool. And so what's your actual, well, what do you do to occupy your time? I personally know there is a huge bunch of stuff, and maybe it's better that you explain that, because I'm sometimes sitting there thinking, how can a single person handle all that?
I ask myself the same question sometimes. No. Well, at the end of the day, my job is that, I mean, we have a number of testers that are supposed to test the new developments we make for the game, or like take care of the issues that are reported by the community, and someone has to make sure that everything goes according to plan and everything is planned properly, and that's basically my responsibility. I make sure that we test all the stuff that needs to be tested, and yeah.
And I mean, that even includes, we have a number of testers that we pull in from a central department or from a completely different country, actually, in one case.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Indeed.
yeah, so just managing those resources is a big deal, especially as we have big features coming in the pipe, or we have something like assembly coming up or whatever. So.
That's true.
So does that also, you talked about community bugs. How does that work? I mean, from a player perspective, we release a new feature and it's, I mean, subjectively always full of new bugs.
It is.
I mean,
Thanks, Jörg.
come on. I know I'm officially an employee of the company and I should always say the best about the game, but
unofficially you are their agent, right?
they pay me.
Well, to some extent.
Well, it's inevitable though, right? Like you can
Yes.
test something in-house, you can even open beta with a few thousand people, but then when you've got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people using it, new bugs.
Yes, and you also have to consider that, I mean, we have a really old game. It's almost 10 years old. And there are, I don't know how many, but there are tons of lines of code that could all get in conflict with each other, depending on what you do in the game. So covering all the cases that there are within this huge pile of code, that's practically impossible. So you can never test every single thing in the world, because we're totally limited in resources at the end of the day. I mean, we try to get as much testing done as possible, and it is in our personal interests to get the best quality out there, but the reality is the code is really complex, and there will always be issues, and that's why it's so important that that players like you guys come and report your bugs to the customer service, or report it in the chat and describe it very detailed, so that we have a chance to figure out what's wrong.
So, and how does that process work? I mean, I find that there is a bug, and then I just tell customer support, hey guys, I've just been flying around map 5.1 and something's broken.
Yeah, well then customer support will first ask, I assume, what exactly is broken. Because if you just go there and say something doesn't work, then no one knows what's actually happening, and that's what we need to know. We need to find out what is it exactly that doesn't work, and in what cases doesn't it work. Because we have a lot of cases that only happen to, like a lot of bugs that happen to a few users or single users only, and it is totally not reproducible from our side. So we need very detailed descriptions of what you were doing at that time, when it happened, your user ID and all that sort of stuff, to be able to look into it and see, okay, is this thing only happening to this person, or is it happening to everybody in the game?
So I was just flying around and collecting some ore, and then some NPC came out of nowhere and shot me, and all of a sudden my lasers didn't work. So would that be enough, or what more information do you need?
Well, having the user ID and the exact time frame when this bug happened, that's incredibly valuable, because there could be a lot of reasons for why this happened, for why suddenly the lasers don't work. It could be that it has to do with you doing a map jump in between. It could be that you switched ammo. It could be whatever, you know, there are tons of possibilities. What could be the reason that your laser stopped working? So you need to think about really what exactly happened there. Even if you think it's unrelated to what happened, it might still be a valuable information for us.
So when I'm at the same time on the homepage and just swap some configuration on a different chip, that may be also influencing?
Sure. That
Okay.
might all be reasons, and the reason why we need the exact time frame when it happened and the user ID is because also, like, we testers, we can check out your account and see, is there anything obvious happening? Then we take our own user accounts and just try to reproduce the whole thing and try, okay, what did the user exactly say he did? And then we do that, and when then either the issue happens to us or it doesn't. And when it doesn't, we have to try a lot of stuff. And sometimes, or even like a lot of the times, it still doesn't happen to us for some reason. And then we can go to the developers and say, okay, listen, we have tried so many things to figure out what happened to this player. Can you please look into the logs and to the technical logs and see if there's anything in the background that we don't see? And that's why it's important.
So the more information you have, the faster you can actually react to the bug reports.
Exactly.
And once that is all, let's say you have discovered how this bug is reproduced or how this issue happened, and because somewhere in the middle between server and client communication some information dropped or something, how do you then proceed?
Well, we write a detailed report in our bug system about this, and this report gets prioritized. That's, I guess, the first step. You evaluate, is it a valid thing that's happening? Then you prioritize it and say, okay, compared to all the other stuff we have, how fast can we actually fix it? Or when do we have time to do this and stuff like that. So figuring out who can fix it, when, and how important it is compared to the other issues that were reported. And then this report gets sent to the developers and they will fix it.
Yeah, I mean, because that kind of hits an area that I think we mentioned previously, which is, yeah, once we have all that information, we look at the priority. We've got to look at how many people we have of that specific discipline. You know, if is it someone that's a Java programmer versus somebody that's working on our front end? Is it a design bug? You know, and then we've got to look at what they're currently working on, what the priority of that stuff is relative to that type of bug. If it's like we just released a new system or we just released an event and something's breaking. Typically what we've tried to do, at least within, I'd say within the year that I've been here, I know that we've moved the time that we launch some of this stuff to like a Monday, so that if it breaks and we get these bugs in, we can verify them with QA over that day, usually on a Monday. We figure out what's going on, and then we can look at prioritization. We always try to bump that stuff up immediately and get it fixed so that the event can keep going, you know, by at least like Wednesday, you know, so.
Cool. And talking about your cooperation with the developers, and game design, of course. So I know from my previous experience that QA has always been very interactive in their way they deal with game design and developers. How do you do that?
Well, for us, it is really important to get into to get our hands on new developments very early in the process. So basically for us it starts when Sergey, for example, has created a design document and specifying everything that he would like this new feature to do. We go over it and we look like, okay, first of all, is anything like, do we need more detail in the descriptions? Like, is anything still unclear? That can already sort out a lot of issues. And then like we look for issues that we already see by reading the design, actually. So that's the first step, trying to figure out the errors before the software is even written. So, and then, you know, at some point this feature gets into testing and then we get our hands on it, and I mean, we figure out, we plan the testing before. So with it, using the design document, we write down all the stuff that we think needs to be tested, and then we go ahead and test that, and then we also play the new feature as a player and try to get the player's perspective on it. Is this, like, even if we don't see any obviously critical bugs with it, like, is it usable? Does it make sense? Is it easy to understand? That's also stuff that we look at.
I noticed that there are a lot of comments in the design documents after Sergey sends them around from QA side and other departments, trying to pick apart certain details. So that, and I read your name many times.
That really helps, actually. Like this designer is obviously like an almighty god of all knowing and all perceiving and so on. But
very humble.
There are limitations.
There he is, very humble.
Yeah, there are limitations. I mean, everybody wants to be that, but nobody is capable of actually being that. So designers are actually very limited in their ability of perceiving every single use case or test case, and the view from like all the people who contribute to design, all the people who read the design document, they all have a very unique perspective, and the perspective of QA is very helpful because they look at the design as players would look, like, oh, this is not logical, like, why do I spend this and get this, like, why do I have to do so many things to get this one thing, and so on. But also, while writing the test cases, they sometimes spot something that was not detailed, like, okay, this feature needs, I don't know, like, this will be a new ship, and what exactly will be the stats of new ship, because QA has to test it, and design didn't specify it. And QA notices because they have to write a test, the ship has to have the correct amount of hull points, the correct amount of laser slots, and so on and so on. So such stuff is picked by QA, and it's very helpful for design, because it's the developers look at the document on the different level, and the details like that is precisely something that QA spots. So we are basically using every resource we have to make sure they cover for design limitations.
Yeah, limitations. What are your limits? What's the where do you think? Yeah, what is it that QA can't do?
Well, I mean, in general, limits are always resources.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have unlimited time to test something.
Mm-hmm.
We put as much time into it as we possibly can, but at some point, you know, we do have a limited amount of people sitting there. We have externals that we can call and that help us. You know, we can have an open beta, which really helps us. We cannot always play the game as the players would.
Yeah, because even with, like, I've seen hundreds or even thousands of test cases for a specific thing where you've got like all of this stuff, and there have been times when we've been working with our other office where we basically are coming at it from two different directions, and so you're looking at just percentage complete of all of these test cases, like hundreds and hundreds of test cases, and then we overlap. Even in that, say you go through several hundred test cases, and it's all of the things that we can think to logically do, it's not going to cover the hundreds of thousands of button clicks and, you know, all of the different profiles when you look at like item compositions, like this ship with these items, and then you've got the people that are very helpful and going, okay, so now if I try to break it in this way by opening these tabs and doing this and refreshing this, and like a lot of that stuff we can learn for future test cases, but we still aren't, there will never be, you know, 500,000 QA people sitting there playing the game, you know, or something like that.
And that's why we have the open beta for certain features. Like,
yeah, even that though, it's, you know, like, and I think we spoke to this last week or the last time or the time before, is like, when we have an open beta for the assembly system, we're hoping everybody goes in and focuses on assembly, and we're hoping that all the people that use assembly send in bugs and feedback and stuff. But realistically, there's going to be X percentage of people that are just going in there to do whatever, right? And so they may or may not use the assembly system, and they may or may not give us bugs. And if they do give us bugs, it may or may not be usable information or reproducible. So it's interesting. Even when you look at, it's like, what are the limitations of QA? Okay, well, even when you look at the 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people that may come through an open beta in a given day, how much of that information then becomes something that's usable, right? And so it's definitely a challenge, like trying to reproduce that on our end.
So last question, because lots more on the list.
Yeah, sure.
Do you like your job?
I do like my job. That's why I did it for quite a long time, in my personal opinion.
What's the coolest thing about this?
The coolest thing, well, I think this job really fits very well with my personality.
Mhm.
It's like, I think a lot of the stuff that I do good, I can apply here. That's so it's
Analytical.
yeah, it's like I always
Investigative.
compare it a little bit to Sherlock Holmes. You know,
Mhm.
not myself. I'm not brilliant.
You are.
But no, I'm not. But it's like, you know, I see there's something wrong with it. Something is happening. I don't quite know what it is. What if I do this? What if I do that? Could it be that? Could it be that? You know, it's very very challenging, and it's always a mystery how stuff works, because at the end of the day, I'm not a programmer. You know, I have very limited programming skills, I would say. So, and I have no insight in the code. So at the end of the day, it's like, in QA we say it's black box testing, because it's basically, you have a box, you put your hands inside, you cannot see inside, and then you start figuring something out, like these riddles, like these Rubik's Cube or whatever. Imagine you put your hands in a black box and try to solve it. That's kind of what it is, and I really enjoy it.
Enjoyment. That's, I think, the most important part of what we're doing, because I think we all love our jobs somehow. especially Sergey. I remember sometimes when he just starts giggling and I have a great plan. Then puts it to the test, and everyone goes like,
that's the whole
yes.
point of being me, having great plans which are like tested by QA, is like falling apart. Like, okay, it wasn't a great plan after all.
We're talking about plans. Let's move on to the questions that were sent to us. You know, we have these recurring in-game events like Spaceball, Team Deathmatch, and so on and so on. I know these haven't been touched in a while. Do you have any reason or plans for the near future, or is there something that you want to do with that? Or
Well, I would say, like, we don't have a near future plan to work on that, because I think we communicate a lot, like what we are doing now. We are looking into, like, there is assembly coming up. We are looking into the stuff that will be happening throughout the year, which is our 10th year as of DarkOrbit. Is very important, guys. Watch it. So the other part is, of course, we are looking into server population and all that other stuff. So there is a lot of things that is on our list currently, but I know about these events and we have them on our design log and the design list of things that we need to do. And what I would be really interested in is, I would be really interested in touching these events and making them more engaging and more rewarding, because we know we had done a survey very long ago when I just started as a designer on this project. We asked people which events do they like more, and we started trying to just at least change the schedule so that the events the people like more appear more often on the schedule. But that's obviously not enough. Like, we have a list of events which are not as compelling or engaging or interesting for people to play. They don't really provide anything useful for them to play with, or some new rewards and so on. What I would really love to see that to mature into a thing that people would love to play and would wait for, and would really see like, okay, this is the event is coming up, I love it, I will try to play it once it comes, and I get some meaningful reward and some meaningful thing if I play it like successfully. That's the goal with these events. The thing is that I can't really speak to as to when that exactly would happen. It's definitely something that design looks at, but currently we're focused on getting assembly out and getting like all these customization options out, and that's once that happens, we'll see.
Yeah, and I think once that's out, I mean, those things are happening in our very near future. Like you're saying, assembly will hopefully have it show in a little bit, and then it'll go into open beta, and then depending on the results of open beta, we'll get that out as quickly as possible. And then with essentially the last component of our customization push, ship customization, we're hoping to get that out very soon as well. And then we're spending time, the last couple of weeks, we've been rearranging plans for the rest of the year and kind of looking at plans, and we've still got some more meetings at the leads level to look at some of the roadmap items. I would say that we look at data on how much people use some of these events, and the only challenge with that is if an event's gotten old and people used to love it, but they don't like it anymore because of the various reasons, rewards, or just it's gotten old. I would say that if there's feedback from the community on the events and which ones specifically are the favorites or which ones are, the ones that people want to have revisions to or iterations on the most, we'll look at that, and we'll look at that soon, because really, once we're done with pushing on getting some of this functionality out, the goal is for us to be able to use that functionality moving forward in the rest of the year, and really focus on content in the rest of the year. A lot of people are like, they've asked the question like, why vanity items? Like, why customization? And again, I'll just repeat myself on this. It's not the end all be all. We're not going to do that and then we're done. The goal was to be able to get this stuff out and broken out and cleaned up, so that we have an additional pool of things to use as rewards for different events, rewards for recurring events or content in the future.
So it's a foundation to build up new events, new rewards, new content, essentially.
Yeah, it's another path for us to use. It's not the only path we're going to use, but it's another path, and that allows us to look at things when we're looking at the economy for the rest of the year, and looking at prices, looking at like item progression and how frequently we release items. If we don't have vanity or customization, the only thing we can do that's is put power out there, right? Like, and we know that if we do that without touching a lot of these pieces and rebalancing a lot of pieces, all we're doing is making that gap that people are talking about even harsher. We're making the disparity between pay and non-pay even greater. So.
And the good thing about this, which is obviously something that you really like, because we are changing systems and reworking the foundations of these systems, several of the bugs then just suddenly disappear, because we're using a completely brand new shiny code for that, getting rid of the old stuff.
And also we touched something unexpected.
Right.
Something. But to wrap up the event games thing, I would say that these are mechanics that I would really like to preserve, but we will look at how to preserve them. Like, should they be reoccurring, or should people will be able to, engage in deathmatch whenever they want, as a part of looking at what content and what mechanics I will be pushing forward after we finish with all the stuff that we are talking about now. we'll look at this as well and say, you know what, people really like the event X if it had some meaningful rewards, and it could be people would be able to participate in the games like that whenever they wanted, for instance. So that's why the feedback that we might get on this discussion is also very valuable for us, will be helpful for us to justify some decisions or to make some decisions moving forward.
Cool. Well, I just got the message that what time it is already. Is there any one of the questions that you would like to address as well? Like one of the things was like missions. What about that? What's coming there? And
yeah, let's very briefly on the missions so that we have enough time for assembly. Like the missions is a topic. Yeah, what?
I just you talk to the camera
Okay.
and I go and prepare everything so we can show the coolest new system that we are going to release.
So the missions is I don't know where to look now. Yeah, awesome. So hi Jörg. The missions is something that we constantly look at because we put forward more missions for events and for stuff like that, and we.
Is this freaking you out a little bit?
It's like I like it. So, and the missions we are looking at the mission system in general, and again, we will decide what to focus on. Would it be missions or new missions? We definitely will do new missions as such, but what I would really like to do in the future is also to look into the missions with rewards, as you said, like challenges, and we would like to make rewards for some missions more meaningful. We will be looking at the lower bracket of missions and making the rewards more meaningful so that people are better equipped for the challenges that they encounter on new levels. That will definitely do, but also we would like to make rewards more comfortable so that people can actually say, okay, I don't need this thing, but I can use this thing, so we can offer a choice in some cases that they will pick the reward that they want the best or they think that will fit best in their progression plan. That's, yeah.
Yeah, because we were just talking about this, actually, the idea of going back and looking at the rewards that are happening and the missions that are available at the lower levels and seeing if that can help address some of that, the disparity in what you get by playing the game and playing through those missions versus what you essentially have to go out and farm iridium for, so.
But in general, saying we want to make more missions more interesting, definitely that's the case. We want to make missions more interesting, and we want to make rewards more we want to give a choice, and we want to make the mission challenges meaningful in the sense that they really give proper rewards.
And
I'm not sure are we giving this to
No.
guys? No.
We'll ignore them for a second. But so then the other thing is the tools discussion. We've been improving tools on the back end. We'll continue to improve tools to make it easier to make missions, easier to revamp the missions and stuff for you guys. And so that's being started now in general. The general tools development that we've been doing has basically the discussion and kickoff is going on. But the goal is to make it as easy as possible for design to create content moving forward.
True that.
All right, I don't know what to do.
I don't know, wave a hand. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so here is Jörg.
Obviously, you can see the feature already on this. You can see what I'm doing here on the screen. So, what can I say? So here's the assembly. Sorry, talking too much today. Sorry. So now we have this new icon up here. It's cleverly marked assembly, of course. And when you click that, this cool new window opens. There are a lot of new recipes up here, and a couple of new features like the filter system that will help you to, when you have collected one of the cool recipes, to actually find that again. We can now deselect all. you can select certain types of recipes, like recipes for a pet or pet connected things, weapons. Right now we have the Hellstorm 2 launcher. You can also get boosters which are not implemented yet in the test. Ships and designs, like the surgeon design. I know many people want that, and we have created a recipe that will be available for 6 days, 19 hours and 25 more minutes on this particular test run. Right below that, let's show all the recipes again, close the drop down. Right here, let's start with UCB 100 ammunition. As you can see, there's a small preview window. There's a window detailing what is it you create with this recipe, and below that, right here, you can see the requirements. The number in front of the dash, that's the amount of resources you have in your hold. Good news is they don't take up any space. So when you have that in your inventory, you don't have to worry about other stuff like the usual ores that you are collecting. It doesn't take anything away from that. The amount behind that, that's the number of plasmids in this case you will use to create one set of ammunition, in this case 200 shots of that, and a little information icon where you can get the stuff from. Then of course you can decide how many you want to craft, like 10 units, and you can see the amount that is required is updated directly. Then you click assemble, and because this is a test version and it's very QA friendly, we have of course only a couple of seconds waiting time. On the live server this will be, Sergey, I guess you will...
We will, like, I just wanted to note that this is all like kind of like preliminary testing things, so we are, when we will be putting the feature on the open beta, the items that will be offered in the open beta for creation will be the items that will be available for the first time. We will be moving into bringing more recipes as we go, but just keep in mind that it does mean that everything is going straight into assembly, but it does mean that anything that is not in the assembly in the open beta will not be offered in the assembly in the future. The building time for now is short, just deliberately, so that people can use it and enjoy the system. It is also planned short, but for unique items in the future, building time might be higher. So
yeah, and availability will change. Essentially, everything that's being shown is core functionality.
yeah.
How that ultimately gets used is stuff that we'll figure out as part of open beta, part of tuning, part of feedback. So item availability, some items will be available for a short period. Some items will be available for the duration of an event. Some items will only appear during certain types of events. Essentially all the parameters that you'll see that you see now, or that you'll see when it goes to open beta, are things that we can use as tools moving forward. And so it's something that I think one of the questions that came up are the ice rockets going to be a permanent addition to assembly?
No, we are aware of the effect that ice rocket has.
Right.
So obviously the things that are being shown are more like a demonstration of what can be done with assembly, and we will be putting forward like unique recipes that you have to maybe find somewhere, and we'll be putting forward recipes for temporary recipes and so on. So but there will be items that will be available permanently, but ice rocket is not one of them.
Yeah, and it's the system it's the foundation, right? It's basically moving forward, we have it to use. Now, the great thing about it being data driven and you know, something where it's not like if we put it in here we can't change it, can't take it out, can't tune it, is that as we get more feedback from the use of the system, whether that be functionality or fairness or hey, why isn't X, Y, or Z available for assembly, we have that option moving forward. So there's the inevitable, you know, can I craft LF4s? Can I do this? Can I do that? I would say the only thing we can say for certain right now is that the system will go live, and we have opportunities to basically do, I guess, whatever moving forward.
But it doesn't mean that we'll be doing whatever.
Right, yeah, exactly, right. We have to still be very careful about honoring people's investment so far, the people that have spent time and energy and money or whatever, like, to get to where they're at. We want to respect that, and we want to always improve the game and use systems like this to improve the game, but we have to keep...
Yeah, but what we also want to use assembly for is to offer a very predictable path for some people. We'll be putting, for instance, for the for at least some time, we are thinking of putting a pet into assembly, so people who do not have a pet will be able to craft it and to get access to all this awesome stuff that is now currently in the game, like the pet designs and the additional support of that stuff.
Another question came in, where can I get the new resources? And are they in loot boxes? Where are they, Sergey?
Yeah, the awesome thing about this is they can be anywhere. Like, some of the resources will be dropping off some special aliens, some of the resources you can find in boxes, some of the resources will be dropping off some special aliens that are in the galaxy gates, and some of the resources you can either farm out of the NPCs or just go into the shop and spend Iridium if you want to save some time on that.
Well, and that was a concern that I saw on one of the threads, actually, was, well, so because they saw that there's the potential to buy a resource in the shop, but that doesn't mean that we're putting all the resources in the shop all the time and people can just go and buy it, right?
The idea is that you can cut corners, but you cannot cut all of them. So every item will require some resources which you potentially can purchase in the shop, but some resources will be only available through some gameplay mechanics. Like, you have to go in the Galaxy Gate, kill specific NPC, pick that resource. Or you have to go to a specific map, kill several specific NPCs, pick that resource. So we are basically, what we want to achieve with this system is we want to let people basically save some time, but we will not let people just buy all the way through to the desired item. We want to balance it in a way that it is a lot more accessible than, I guess, anything we've had before. Yeah, but there is a potential for some people who want to spend some Iridium to spend it, yes.
I just have one more question, this time directed to Annika. When this new feature hits the test server, what do you think people should look at when they're there? What is it in terms of information that we need?
You mean like when they find a bug, what information?
What should they try to break? What button should they push?
I mean, I think the obvious things that we have tested already is like, okay, I have a recipe, and if I don't have the resources, I cannot build it, and if I have the resources, I can build it. So that's kind of the obvious stuff that we will most likely already have tested. The things that are really difficult to find is all the interactions that players have with other parts of the game, or with map jumping, or whatever it is, right? So that's the really difficult stuff. If you play the game as a player and you do all the stuff that you do, you use your skill tree and all your formations, whatnot, do you get any errors out of actually playing the game with these new functionalities in place.
And also what I would say, what I would be looking for is like you do crazy stuff, like you craft an ammunition and simultaneously shoot with it, or something like just go crazy. Think of something that how would I break the interaction with this? And also, of course, look at the items that we offer, look at the amount of resources needed, so the balancing, which is crucial for me. It's not like a QA question, it's more like a design question, like do the items make sense? Does the amount of resources that is needed make sense? Is the description correct? Is it basically like, is it usable? Do you understand where to get the resources and stuff like that? So all those questions are there for you.
Yeah. What do you like about the system? What would you wish the system could do?
Yeah.
What do you want to? Yeah.
Oh, that as well. I mean, if you think of something, oh, it would be cool if the system could also do X. It'd be very interesting to know.
Because this is a basic, and then moving forward, we can always add to the system, improve the system. You know, not just the recipes and all of that. So.
We will definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
That is
Cool. Well, looking at the time,
we have 5 minutes. No?
we have 5 minutes. Do you see anything in the chat that
yeah. So
might want to address?
will you open the test 2 for everyone, so that people can try this? I mean, it'll be on specifically called out open betas, and we hope to do multiple open betas, and yeah, we'll let those betas run for as long as possible. We'll definitely look and see if we're getting feedback. Question, I think you answered it earlier, but just to kind of repeat it, is the surgeon going to be permanently in the assembly system?
No, as we said, like the recipes that you have seen now and the items that you have seen now are test things. The actual selection of items, which we'll offer at the start of the system, will be available when we do the open beta. Then you can look at it and see what is there really and what is not. I think the surgeon is one of the rarest things in the game now, will not go in assembly straight away, but as I said, we will be moving forward, we will be bringing in new recipes, permanent, temporary recipes, recipes that you have to find somewhere, so like the recipes themselves will be a rare loot that you have to get somewhere. So the expansion will be these things that you have seen on the screen are not the actual total list of items. Just keep an eye on what is going there in open beta and give us your feedback.
And that goes back to the earlier comment of we're trying to get this out because now we have the system that we can use to, I mean, all the stuff you're talking about, like drops off aliens, this and that, all of that stuff. It's a great number of varied examples that we now have to get in game. And so our focus really is like, all right, content, right? We get these systems, these foundational systems in, and now we'll be looking the rest of the year at how to get all this content in, right? Because we're talking new rewards and new things to kill and new places to explore. So yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Oh yeah. 1756.
Well,
yeah, we have.
Is there something you want to say?
Have an awesome evening on Wednesday and have an awesome Thursday and Friday.
Have a wonderful Wednesday.
Yes, have a wonderful rest of the Wednesday. Why not? I mean,
and a lot of fun testing that once we have it on the test server.
Yeah, and maybe we've got another Twitch coming up in 2 weeks, right? I mean, if we stay on schedule or whatever.
Maybe.
Yeah,
You're
maybe.
the one always pointing a gun at me and telling me, you do Twitch now. And I'm just taking the gun and put it on somebody else's head.
So
you help me.
We'll have another Twitch, and hopefully, we'll be able to, if there are a lot of questions or if people want to see certain functionality explained in more detail or whatever, let us know and we'll look at that and we can always show it some more. I know, 30 minutes isn't necessarily all the time in the world, but we'll go from there and kind of
there are a couple of
see
other
what
features
happens.
that we will be presenting in the future as well.
Yeah. Cool. I think that kind of wraps us up. I think we covered the questions I'm looking at from the moderators. Thank you, moderators, for getting us such excellent questions.
Yeah.
Thanks, Flips, for doing mission control back there. We'll get you on camera soon enough.
No.
And
yes.
yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Rick,
Bye.
Annemieke, Sergey, myself. Good night.
Bye bye.